We're at a moment in our country's history where fear-based policies are causing our nation to forget where we've come from. When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, he posed a challenge that appears to be quite compelling at this time. He asked the question, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave? He made the connection between freedom and bravery, between democracy and courage. Indeed, throughout our country's history, we've discovered that it really does take courage to live in a free society. That you have to have a certain amount of faith that the constitutional structure of a society will provide the inherent protections to take a society through rough times as well as good times. And in fact, we've seen that our Constitution has helped our country become quite durable. That has, it's enabled us to create a democratic tradition, and also through the enactment of a series of amendments to the Constitution, beginning first with the Bill of Rights, help to describe the basic premises upon which we transact the work of the polity. We are now at a time in our country's history where it is essential that we begin to consciously reflect on the impact of our public decisions on our constitutional tradition, and to ask whether the public decision-making process is being so corrupted by fear that it is creating a destructive undermining of basic democratic principles enunciated in our Bill of Rights and in constitutional protections beyond that. I was in Washington the night that the Patriot Act was passed. It's always instructive when you're studying law to look at the context in which a law arises, to look at the circumstances that are immediately attendant to the passage of a law. Let me take you back to the time that the Patriot Act had passed. Washington, in a simulated state of siege, sharpshooters atop Capitol buildings, new barriers put up that block the flow of not only vehicular but pedestrian traffic, cameras installed everywhere that had places that had never been before, fake bomb scares on Capitol Hill, an anthrax attack on the nation, people standing in full combat dress, camouflage, with automatic weapons standing in front of white marble buildings. A nation that's fearful does not make good laws. Start with that. Can't, you know. You know, you're always cautioned to never ask how laws or sausage are made, okay? But as someone who's seen the process at work, which is seldom pretty, let me tell you, fear is the wrong atmosphere in which to make a law. And so Washington was gripped by fear when it passed the Patriot Act. Worse than that, most members of Congress never read the bill. It was brought forth at about 1 o'clock in the morning, at a time when most members had already been in session for more than 14 hours. Most members had not read it. Some had not even heard about it. It was brought to the floor so late at night so as to not permit an inspection. Members weren't given copies. There was one copy on the desk of the clerk of a bill that was over 300 pages. I have this habit of not voting for things that I haven't seen. In baseball, there's this old saying that you can't hit what you can't see. Well, you shouldn't vote for what you can't see. And so Congress ended up voting to support broad revisions of First Amendment rights. Gave the government the right to go into someone's house without a warrant, download a computer file, and just take it out. FBI can go into a library, ask for a reading list. Librarian cannot tell the library customer that the FBI asked for the reading list. The FBI can get information from video stores on what you watch, financial information, your educational records, your health records. It really provided for the broadest reach of government into the lives of the American people. And with the companion of several presidential orders and practices of the Justice Department, such as internment practices at Guantanamo Bay, we've suddenly seen America make a transition from a full celebration of democratic rights to a constriction in some very significant areas, not only with respect to First Amendment rights, but also with respect to an entire architecture of criminal protections that were suddenly denied defendants. The right of habeas corpus, be told what you're charged with. People are picked up, locked up, not told what they're charged with, not charged, held, in some cases incommunicado, not provided legal representation, or had listening devices so that the government could listen into communication between attorney and client, kept people for indefinite periods of time without a trial, and started to set up a system of military tribunals that would leap over civil protections. We now see our government openly advocating assassination policies, having violated the UN Charter with the invasion of Iraq, violated the Geneva and the Hague Conventions with the attempt to privatize Iraq. See, the law is there to preserve the structure of a democratic society, and the law is not only under attack, but it's being revised, and in its revision is degrading democratic society. Now, this fear that I've talked about is inconsistent with who we are as a democracy. Living in a democracy involves a certain amount of faith in democratic tradition. It's been said that one cannot walk in fear and faith at the same time. When we're fearful, it's inevitable. Any one of us who's ever experienced fear, we all have at one time or another. Fear has the capacity to paralyze us, to cause us to make decisions that would make worse the better reason, to cause us to make the wrong decisions. And yet, the Patriot Act and a series of presidential orders attendant to it and foreign policy decisions, as a corollary of it, have separated us from the world community and separated us from the angels of our better nature. We cannot protect democratic traditions in an atmosphere of fear, and fear is being used as a political weapon now. It's being heightened. I mean, let's remember the ridiculous conditions of a year and a half ago when the government was promoting duct tape and plastic as a way that we could protect ourselves. Or how about the new Orwellian weather reports, the color-coded